Lando Norris has executed one of Formula One's most spectacular reputation implosions, transforming from motorsport's most beloved underdog into a driver requiring 5 security guards for basic paddock navigation. This transformation represents a comprehensive psychological thriller where Norris has systematically created adversaries across every aspect of the Formula One ecosystem. The British McLaren driver has accomplished something truly remarkable in the world of professional motorsport. He has simultaneously declared war on social media trolls, established himself as Max Verstappen's favorite psychological punching bag, been systematically outperformed by his own teammate, faced an uprising from supposedly inferior teams, and most impressively, become his own worst enemy. Opponent number 1, the Twitter mob and social media assassins. The first and perhaps most relentless adversary in Norris's expanding collection of enemies consists of the internet's most dedicated critics, who have elevated hating Lando Norris into what can only be described as performance art. These individuals possess such commitment to their craft that they could discover a way to blame Norris for global warming, supply chain disruptions, and the cancellation of their favorite television programs. The situation has reached such absurd proportions that fans have reported finding Norris criticism in completely unrelated online spaces. You could be on Reddit looking at Formula One driver feet pics, and there would be someone out there complaining about Lando's toes because they hate him that much. This represents a level of dedication to negativity that borders on the supernatural. The most bewildering aspect of this digital warfare is Norris's decision to actively participate in his own destruction. Rather than employing the time-tested strategy of ignoring anonymous critics with cartoon profile pictures, Norris chose to engage directly with the hatred. The pinnacle of this self-destructive behavior occurred when he was spotted liking hate comments about himself on Instagram. Norris is the most employed person doing the most unemployed shit in the whole world. This Instagram incident represents a masterclass in how to amplify negative publicity through personal involvement. The image of a millionaire Formula One driver, fresh from competing at the highest level of motorsport, spending his recovery time scrolling through social media to endorse criticism of his own performance, creates a psychological portrait that defies rational explanation. The consequences of this digital engagement became so severe that Norris eventually implemented a complete social media boycott. Speaking to reporters at Imola, he explained his digital detox strategy. "I've not been on social media for a few weeks now. It's not something I enjoy. I don't need to be on it. It's my life, and I can do what I like. I enjoy not going on my phone as much as I used to. I still text my friends. But I see social media as a waste of my time and energy. I don't need it or want it. I don't find it interesting." This withdrawal represents a complete capitulation to an army of anonymous accounts, essentially admitting defeat to individuals whose primary qualification for offering racing commentary consists of owning internet access. The irony is that Norris has allowed people with zero professional racing experience to influence his mental state and public engagement strategy, effectively giving control of his narrative to the least qualified commentators imaginable. Opponent number 2, Max Verstappen, the psychological tormentor. Max Verstappen occupies a unique position in Norris's expanding roster of adversaries, functioning as what can best be described as his personal Formula One nemesis, without appearing to exert any particular effort toward achieving this status. Verstappen approaches his interactions with Norris like a chess grandmaster playing against someone who recently learned the rules, maintaining an air of casual dominance that makes every encounter appear predetermined. The statistical reality of their on-track relationship reads like a psychological study in dominance and submission. Every time Max Verstappen meets Lando Norris, McLaren's Lando Norris has ended in Max Verstappen's unbeaten home. This pattern has established itself with such consistency that their battles have become less about racing and more about watching inevitable outcomes unfold in slow motion. The 2024 season provided numerous examples of Verstappen's psychological superiority over Norris. In Austria, their wheel-to-wheel combat nearly resulted in mutual destruction, with both drivers pushing the boundaries of acceptable racing to dangerous extremes. Mexico witnessed another near-elimination scenario, while Austin delivered an intense duel that left race stewards struggling to manage the aggression levels involved. The 2025 season has continued this pattern, with even more devastating effectiveness. The Miami Grand Prix exemplified Verstappen's ability to ruin Norris's race prospects, even when operating with clearly inferior machinery. Despite Norris securing pole position, Verstappen managed to create chaos from the opening corner, locking up into turn 1 and causing a collision that immediately destroyed Norris's race strategy. The psychological impact of this Miami incident cannot be understated. Verstappen, driving what observers described as a Red Bull tractor, still held up Norris for several crucial laps, while Oscar Piastri escaped to victory. This sequence demonstrated Verstappen's ability to damage Norris's race prospects through sheer force of will, even when lacking the technical advantages typically required for such interference. Perhaps most remarkably, this psychological dominance occurred just one day after Verstappen became a father, suggesting that even major life events cannot diminish his focus when it comes to tormenting Norris on track. This man, even a day after his child was born, still drove like his life was on the line. Like you could give Big Daddy Max a fucking Lego car, and he would still cause Lando issues. The pattern continued through subsequent races, with mechanical precision. In Australia, Verstappen nearly chased down Norris for victory despite operating an obviously inferior vehicle. Japan witnessed Verstappen stealing pole position through superior execution at a single braking point, ultimately taking away a race that Norris could have easily won. Saudi Arabia repeated the formula, with Verstappen claiming pole position with his blue tractor, while Norris finished far behind, costing him 6 championship points. This relationship has evolved beyond simple competitive rivalry into something resembling psychological warfare, where Verstappen's mere presence appears capable of unsettling Norris's mental preparation and race execution. Opponent number 3. Oscar Piastri, the Quiet Revolution. Oscar Piastri represents perhaps the most diplomatically devastating opponent in Norris's collection of adversaries, having mastered the art of systematically outperforming his teammate while maintaining the emotional range of a professional meditation instructor. Piastri approaches Formula One with the methodical precision of an accountant, delivering consistent excellence, while his teammate oscillates between supreme confidence and existential crisis. The statistical comparison between these McLaren teammates reveals a performance gap that should deeply concern Norris's championship aspirations. Piastri has managed to surpass Norris in race wins, while completing fewer than 82 Grand Prix starts, achieving in his third season what Norris struggled to accomplish throughout his entire career development. When Norris was in his third season, he was busy bottling wins, while Piastri has been systematically collecting victories with mechanical efficiency. The 2025 season has showcased Piastri's superiority across multiple performance metrics. In China, Piastri secured pole position and cruised to victory, while Norris crashed during qualifying, establishing a pattern that would repeat throughout the early season. Bahrain witnessed another Piastri pole-to-victory performance, while Jeddah delivered a win from second position as Norris again failed to maximize his opportunities. Clips from here. The Miami Grand Prix provided perhaps the most telling example of their contrasting approaches to race management. While Norris and Verstappen engaged in mutually destructive warfare, Piastri maintained his composure and capitalized on their mistakes to secure another victory. This strategic patience demonstrates a maturity level that makes Norris's emotional volatility appear even more pronounced by comparison. Former world champion Jacques Villeneuve has provided expert analysis of this teammate dynamic, observing that Norris collapses when pressure reaches critical levels. Villeneuve said, "He's shown all through the season that he has the pace, and most of the time, he has a slight edge over his teammate Piastri. But when it's money time, he collapses. It's as if he puts himself under too much pressure, and it doesn't work out." The qualifying comparison reveals the extent of this psychological pressure. Last season, Norris held a commanding 21-3 head-to-head advantage over Piastri in qualifying sessions. The 2025 season has witnessed a complete reversal, with Piastri outqualifying Norris at 4 of the last 6 rounds, including claiming pole position at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, while Norris could only manage 4th place. Piastri's emotional consistency creates an additional psychological burden for Norris, who must compete against someone who maintains identical facial expressions regardless of race outcomes. Piastri makes the exact same face when he wins or loses a race, creating a stark contrast with Norris's emotional transparency and public self-criticism. The teammate relationship has created an impossible comparison dynamic for public perception. Piastri's characteristics include being super chill, unproblematic, quick performance, maturity, and phenomenal emotional range, while Norris has become known for throwing jabs at other drivers, but then proceeds to bottle things and then turn into a depressed Ferrari driver. When confronted with criticism from 1980 Formula One champion Alan Jones, who described Norris as mentally weak, Piastri provided a diplomatically perfect response that further highlighted his superior media management skills. Piastri explained, "For me, the most important thing is to try and do things in the style that's most natural to you. When you start trying to do things that aren't your natural way of being a person, that's when things become confusing." Opponent number 4, the midfield uprising. The fourth major threat to Norris's Formula One aspirations consists of teams that were supposed to be supporting characters in McLaren's championship story, but have instead decided to audition for leading roles. Williams, Aston Martin, Alex Albon, and Ferrari have collectively formed an unofficial alliance dedicated to exploiting any McLaren weakness with opportunistic precision. Williams has undergone perhaps the most dramatic transformation, evolving from Formula One's equivalent of a participation trophy into a legitimate threat capable of producing genuinely competitive lap times. This resurrection has caught the paddock by surprise, as Williams was previously considered a reliable source of points for faster teams, rather than a legitimate competitive concern. Aston Martin represents the sleeping giant scenario, possessing unlimited financial resources and Adrian Newey's aerodynamic expertise, while waiting for the perfect moment to emerge from their current hibernation period. The team operates under the constant threat of suddenly discovering competitiveness, which would immediately complicate the championship calculations for all established contenders. Ferrari continues to function as Formula One's most expensive comedy performance, somehow managing to combine legitimate pace with strategic decisions that appear to be generated by consulting a fortune cookie. The Italian team represents a constant wild-card factor, capable of accidentally stumbling into race victories through sheer mathematical probability rather than intentional planning. The psychological impact of these midfield threats cannot be understated. Norris must now approach every race weekend knowing that McLaren's traditional advantages may be insufficient to guarantee superior results. This additional pressure layer compounds his existing psychological challenges and creates yet another source of potential failure that he must manage alongside his other competitive concerns. Opponent number 5, Lando Norris, the ultimate enemy. The most formidable opponent in Norris's expanding collection of adversaries turns out to be Norris himself, creating a psychological battle that transcends traditional competitive racing and enters the realm of internal psychological warfare. This self-sabotage manifests through 2 distinct personality modes, neither of which serves his competitive interests effectively. Mode 1 involves what observers have termed rage baiting, though others prefer the more diplomatic description of trash talking. Norris's attempts at psychological intimidation lack the natural confidence displayed by successful practitioners like Max Verstappen or Zach Brown. When executed properly, trash talking can appear absolutely fucking hilarious or badass, but Norris's efforts consistently produce mixed results that often damage his public image more than they intimidate his competitors. The historical record of Norris's failed trash-talking attempts reads like a catalog of public relations disasters. In 2021, his comments about Sebastian Vettel needing to focus on driving created unnecessary controversy with Vettel supporters. The 2020 season featured his observation that Lewis Hamilton should win every race because he has the fastest car, a comment that appears particularly ironic given McLaren's current competitive advantages. The 2024 season delivered what can only be described as Norris's brilliant combo of PR destruction, featuring his infamous, "It's not talent or it's just luck" commentary about competitor successes. This statement created a public relations nightmare that required formal apology at the FIA awards show, where Norris was forced to retract his comments under obvious team pressure. Mode 2 represents the complete opposite extreme, featuring self-hatred and depression that reduces his confidence while confusing supporters who witness dramatic personality transformations. Norris transitions from WWE SmackDown levels of confidence to I hate myself, with a volatility that observers compare to something a Ferrari driver could go through. The 2025 season has showcased numerous examples of this self-destructive pattern. Following his crash in Saudi Arabia qualifying, Norris immediately responded on team radio with, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm good." "Idiot," demonstrating his tendency to absorb blame and criticize himself publicly. Subsequent interviews revealed a defeated attitude that contrasted sharply with his pre-race confidence levels. The mistake catalog that Norris has compiled throughout 2024 and 2025 represents a masterclass in how to transform competitive advantages into disappointing results through execution failures. The comprehensive list includes losing 6 places from pole position in the China Sprint, surrendering 2 positions from pole in Spain, another 2 positions lost from pole in Hungary, 3 positions surrendered in Belgium after the first corner, 2 more positions lost from pole in Italy, 3 positions dropped from pole in Austin, and the ultimate championship fumble during the Brazil race restart. The 2025 season has continued this pattern with mechanical precision. Beyond the Saudi Arabia qualifying crash, Norris managed to secure a good start in Bahrain only to receive a penalty for positioning his car incorrectly in the grid box. After a long streak of shitty starts, when Lando finally gets a good one, it's illegal. Play clip of Lando's car. The psychological impact of these repeated failures creates a compounding effect that undermines his confidence in subsequent competitive situations. Each mistake reinforces a pattern of self-doubt that makes future errors more likely, creating a psychological cycle that appears increasingly difficult to break. Norris has publicly acknowledged his struggle with the 2025 McLaren, admitting, "I'm nowhere near the capability that I have," and describing his relationship with the car as fundamentally uncomfortable. Despite achieving podium results, he expressed surprise at his current performance levels, given his internal dissatisfaction with the vehicle's handling characteristics. Team principal Andrea Stella has provided insight into Norris's psychological approach, comparing him favorably to previous world champions, while noting his unique transparency about internal struggles. Stella said that Lando, if anything, is more stylistic. He's there where he's in a way relatively unique in how open he is, and how somehow he makes it visible. The ultimate irony of Norris's situation is that his talent level clearly justifies championship aspirations, but his psychological approach consistently undermines his ability to capitalize on competitive advantages. Lando could be racing in a fighter jet against cars, but his biggest opponent would still be himself. The technical disconnect with his current vehicle has created additional psychological pressure, as Norris struggles to extract maximum performance from machinery that should theoretically suit his driving style. This technical frustration combines with his existing confidence issues to create a perfect storm of competitive disadvantages that no amount of raw speed can overcome.